to the May 21st meeting of the Conejo Recreation and Park District Board of Directors. And I'd like to ask Mr. Zoom Mark to lead us in the pledge.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mark. And I actually have American flag. I can't see it through the wall, but it's right here to my left. So again, thank you, Mark. And roll call, please. Elaine?
Director Lyons.
Present.
Director Nichols.
Yes.
Director Holt. Director Huffer.
Yes.
Director Cuthbert. Yes.
Thank you. We're going on to item number 3, special presentations. Our Conejo Senior Volunteer Program. Who's got that tonight?
We have Ms. Julie Spivak here this evening.
Great. Welcome, Julie.
Hello, Julie.
Hi, miss you all.
Miss you too.
This is kind of fun.
And George, just so you know, we also have Ms. Patty Ham waiting in the wings in case she's needed.
Okay. I just lost every, no, okay.
That's the presentation, George.
Thank you to CRPD Board of Directors and staff for inviting me to your meeting this evening. Naturally, I figured that I would tell you what the Conejo Senior Volunteer Program has been up to during COVID-19. My presentation highlights CSVP volunteers and their amazing sewing skills and the CSVP Senior Nutrition Lunch Program. 13 CSVP volunteers have been making handmade masks and caps from home for local partner agencies. I have been dropping off supplies and picking them up at their homes on a weekly basis. Some of them come and drop off the masks and the supplies through our lunch program so they can come out and chat with us because they miss us, as I'm sure all of you do. And we also had fabric donations and monetary donations dropped off as well. As you can see on the screen, it shows the different partner agencies that we have been donating to and the quantity of masks and caps that we have donated to our local partner agencies. As of today, we have donated out over 2,000.
Wow.
These ladies are fast workers. So in the center, we have Linda with the caps that she was making, and in the bottom right, you can see, it's not the best picture, but it is one of the doctors at Los Robles Hospital wearing his handmade cap, and I have been going in there dropping those off weekly. The volunteer coordinator, Irene, said how thrilled all the doctors and nurses are to receive their masks and their caps, and they're gone within 30 seconds. And in the bottom left is our volunteer, Ling Ling, and she is making 200 masks for CRPD staff at the moment. And here are a few more of our volunteers, and here is Chong and Barbara and Lucy, and they're in front of their homes. And this has been keeping us pretty busy. So our senior nutrition program went from a congregate meal program on March 18th to a delivery pickup meal program. We went from serving about 60 seniors to 120 hot meals daily. These are not including the 40+ meals we've been making for senior concerns, which would bring the daily total between 140 and 160. We have had over 300 new participants since March 18th, and we are serving over 500 local seniors in our community. Lunch is available for pickup Monday through Friday between 11:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. And if anyone knows our fabulous supervisor, Patty, in the bottom right, She loves her themes. This was our Taquito Tuesday for Cinco de Mayo. And in the center is Jerry Sherman. He's one of our regulars, and he has about 5 different cars that he rolls through on any given day. And they're all really cool old school cars. And in the bottom left, I just thought was adorable. It's one of our senior participants on his bike, and his lunch is in his basket. Also, this program is really important for the basis that it is about socialization for our seniors, which, as we know, it's really difficult for them to have that at this time. So as they come through, they tell us that this is the best part of their day, even if they're out for like 15 to 20 minutes, that they're able to see other people and, you know, give air hugs and a wave and also chat with our staff.
Virtual hugs. Virtual hugs.
Yes, virtual hugs. Yes, virtual hugs. And CSBT and Senior Concerns have had a very long relationship. Generally, we send our volunteers over to their thrift store and to their adult daycare center. From day one, we started working with them, and we were preparing meals for them when their East Campus, where they do their Meals on Wheels, got up. That program was full, so we were making about 40 meals a day for them. And their volunteers who are already, they already are vetted and have background checks, they are delivering about 40 meals for our seniors on a daily basis. Here is our awesome staff. We have Michael and Colin and Mark on the bottom, and Chef Victor and Patty and Sherry on Tuesdays. If you ever come around on Tuesday, you can see Patty out there with staff wearing tutus, and the seniors love it. This is a picture in the upper left of our hot meals, and daily hot meals for the senior nutrition program include 4 ounces of protein, vegetables, fruit, salad, shelf-stable milk, and yogurt. Also, at the beginning of May, BCAAA, Ventura County Area Agency on Aging, who our grant is funded through, started giving us senior kits in the bottom right, and there are 7 meals in there with canned goods and a bunch of goodies. Also, on Fridays, we were giving out frozen meals for Saturdays and Sundays to our seniors for a meal for them on the weekend. And as we all know, as soon as you put down something on paper during COVID, it changes. So I wanted to add something really important to the presentation. BCAAA started working with World Central Kitchen about 2 weeks ago, and they're working with 13 local restaurants, and this is to try and get restaurant workers back, and also to help local restaurants survive during this period. So on last Friday, for the first time, we received meals from Cronies. We received 200, and these are fresh meals that we were able to hand out instead of the frozen for Saturday and Sunday. And they had 3 choices. We had a breakfast, a tri-tip meal, and a turkey wrap meal to give to the seniors, and they absolutely loved it. And we got great feedback that some of them never had been there, but they want to get food from there now, and also from Cronies saying that this restaurant program is huge for them because they don't know that they'd be able to survive otherwise, so that was really cool. Since March 18th, we have served over 6,500 meals, and of these meals, over 5,000 of them have been hot meals. And I figured I would show you a little video of the program.
It's really special just to see the seniors come, pick up their food, want to spend time with us, chat about their day, and, you know, it gives that positive energy that we need during these days.
I'm 77, my husband is in his 70s, and we just don't cook, you know, we try, but it's really helped us, and it's so convenient to come here, and we are so happy that you guys provide this.
It's everything. It's been so great for myself and my wife. It gives us food that normally we wouldn't get, and I'm so appreciative of the global program that they have here. It's fabulous, and I look forward to coming here every day, Monday through Friday. It's great.
For me, it's a lifesaver because it's always good,
always fresh, it's always fulfilling, and it's always nice and warm. It's a complete meal, and you get much nutrition from it. It's a saving grace to me. We're excited to be here. We're happy that we're able to contribute and to provide a much needed service for our seniors coming out. And how about the senior nutrition program?
This is the spark of my day. I get to come outside. I live by myself. I'm a widow. And this is my good meal of the day that I eat. There's snacks. But I enjoy coming out and having a little freedom for 15, 20 minutes. Beautiful. Love all of you that are here. So gracious. I'm so thankful for all of you.
Thank you, CRPD Board of Directors, CRPD staff, and Global Center staff for your support of the Conejo Senior Volunteer Program. Special thanks to Patty, Tim, and Rochelle for their fantastic leadership always, and especially during these challenging times. Thank you.
That's great.
Very good. Great. Go ahead.
I said I miss you, Jeff. I miss you, George.
Great presentation. Board members would like to make comments. Yes, Director Hupper.
Julie, what you and your staff are doing is absolutely spectacular. The number of meals that you're serving every week is unbelievable, and the quality of the meals. I mean, the pictures that you were showing, it's amazing. I didn't realize that you were helping out with Meals on Wheels. I don't recall the numbers, but my Kiwanis Club is involved with Meals on Wheels, and the number of clients has like tripled or quadrupled in the last couple of months. So I'm glad you have volunteers working on that. When's the tax program going to resume?
I was scared. I knew you were going to ask me that. I was waiting for that, Jack. So, I mean, we're on the mass email with the 45 preparers, so hopefully we'll figure something out, whether it's virtual or in person.
Okay.
We have to send a proposal to the IRS, too, on how to do it virtually when we're ready. So I know Tom's been working on that.
Good. All right. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Chuck. Any other board members? Yes, Ms. Cusworth.
So this is amazing. I was wondering, are these free meals? Do people pay for the meals? How does this go?
So there is a $3 suggested donation, but no one will be turned away for inability to pay, and that's always how our program has been. So we are not asking for donations right now, but everyone is giving them to us. So we have a box that we put, and they put their money in, so there's no money exchange. We're not giving change. A lot of people are writing checks, and it's going to the VCAAA Foundation, because obviously they're going well above the grant, which is the Older Americans Act grant, and they're going to need the donations for extra funding. The restaurant program is also paid out of the grant as well, and that is free. And they're doing, that's what it's nice. It's been great to work with Senior Concerns. I'm talking to them. There's daily communications because the lists are always changing. So their volunteers sometimes will do 30 meals for them. Sometimes they're delivering 14 for us. They have their Meals on Wheels program, which is their normal program, which is completely full. Then they just started working with Country Harvest in the interim as we were making the food for them before they got the second site, which is Country Harvest, and they're doing 2 meals a day. Then with the restaurant program, they're doing, that's 3 meals a day. So it's great because they have the staff in there making all the calls and assessing each senior, seeing which program would be the best. And then also they'll send them over, if they only need one, they'll send them over to us, and then their volunteers will do the delivery. And the restaurant programs are, you do not have to pay for them.
So the restaurant programs are being delivered all by Senior Concerns. Those aren't at the Global Center.
They are, no, it's different. So there's, the restaurant meals are coming to our site, since we're only doing the 1 meal a day because that's what our seniors need, and ours is a pickup program. We're getting those deliveries at 10 a.m. on Friday mornings now to hand out for the weekend. And then other sites through the county, the restaurants are delivering directly to them. And it's like a local restaurant. So this Friday, we might get not Cronies anymore, but somewhere else.
Okay, and you're not the one that's getting the restaurants to come, you're just accepting whatever restaurant who's deciding on the restaurant? Is that a whole other entity, the restaurant program?
Yeah, so it's through World Central Kitchen, and BC AAA is working directly with them. And the woman over there that's in charge every Thursday, we're on a conference call every Tuesday with the county. And then every Thursday she sends, and we give updates on what's going on. So these are all of the centers like Camarillo Health District, the Oxnard Community Center, Moore Park Community Center. So each city has the same program as us, and then on Thursdays we let them know how many meals we want and which day of week and which time, and then the restaurant comes, whoever comes that week. So she's working with the restaurants to decide who delivers to any given place. And so some of the other programs, it's different because ours, so with Thousand Oaks, we do the congregate program generally, and Senior Concerns does the Meals on Wheels program. Well, Simi Valley, for instance, they do congregate and delivery. So they do both of those programs. So each city kind of has its own way of how they're running. Ojai is another one that's doing it. So each one kind of decides what they need, and with us, with the hot meals, which is where we get reimbursement from the county, that's really cool too. So we get $6.75, it's going up next year, but for every hot meal we serve from the county. Well, they're actually reimbursing us for the meal program, $2.75 a meal, even though we're not paying for them.
I see. And so the restaurant, we're basically just a distribution center because everything else is kind of taken care of. You're not really dealing with restaurants or money or anything like that.
Yeah, they're dropping them off to us, and then we're offering our seniors that, and then we mark whether they got one or not, and then at the end of the month, I create an invoice with how many of them we handed out.
And do you ever run out?
So last Friday was the first time. We got 200. We ran out, so we have 250 coming tomorrow.
Wow. And is it just anybody who kind of looks old can come and get it? I mean, or do people sign up for this?
Yeah, it's a 60 and over program still, even with the restaurant program. It's 60 plus, so it's still part of our senior nutrition program. So you have to be 60 plus to be able. The restaurant, actually, that's our program. The restaurant program, this is a different program. So FEMA originally came and wanted to do the other program with the 3 meals, and BC AAA decided not to go with that program and go with World Central Kitchen. So then FEMA is another program that we're not involved in, and that's 65 and over, and then under 75,000, which most people don't, the seniors don't make that, so they would, but they decided not to go that route. I think this is a lot better, and the food is like amazing, and then it helps, our restaurants here locally.
So are you making all of this food in the kitchen at the Global Center?
Yeah, so normally how we do our lunch program, we have our chef, we have Victor as the chef. He's really great because he does catering events. That's his normal job, so he's used to serving 500 people. So it's like, okay, we have 200 today. Senior Concerns took off 20 tomorrow. They added 20, so we're doing 140. So that's always the hardest that Patty and I have figured out is we can cook, but figuring out how much food to make for a certain amount of people, and he's really great with that. And then we have staff rotating because we have staff that packs the bags, packs the food, and then people checking in out front and people putting the food in the car.
So just as a side note, Patty, since I have more time now, I'm cleaning out my closet, and I have about 6 square dance skirts, square dance slips that look like adult tutus that I'm no longer keeping in my closet, and I was just going to, take them to Goodwill. But if you would like to have more tutu fairies, you're welcome to my square dance slips.
I need them.
You shall get them. Are you just at the Global Center? I could just bring them over?
That's awesome.
My husband will be thrilled to get down in the closet. Okay. Thank you, Julie. You're doing a great job, and I'm actually delivering for Senior Concerns now in the afternoons. I actually thought all of this was run through you when I started getting involved with Senior Concerns, but they're kind of working with you too, so.
It's great. I go to coffee meetings with Martha, who's over there weekly, and she's awesome, and she's absolutely wonderful to work with. So she'll be my new best friend after this.
Thank you, Director Cusworth. Director Holt. Director Holt.
Huh?
There you are.
You cannot hear me?
Now we can.
Now we can. Now we can.
Okay. I just wondered if there was any connection with Lutheran Social Services. That's where, you know, I've been doing some work, and they were also looking for used clothing too, because they're really focusing more on the homeless, I guess. But I just wondered if there's any connection there, because I've taken food there, etc.
We haven't been working with them with the food program, but we did donate, I donated masks to them yesterday. One of their staff came through our drive-through and picked them up. I know that with the, I think the city of Thousand Oaks has been helping out with they're the ones working out of the Motel 6 and doing the food service is the city of Thousand Oaks staff over there.
Okay, just was curious, you know, whether we were, you know, connected with the food program too. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Holt. Director Nichols.
Thank you,
Right in the
Mr. Chair.
center.
Yes, thank you. You know, I've been thoroughly enjoying the Instagram posts that you were doing, especially live and in person with Ms. Ham there with her extra character that she brings to the program. And the costumes, I'm not sure if those are costumes or you usually wear that anyhow, I'm not sure, but it's a weekly event, so I figured you must do this all the time. But it's been great to see it and to get that information out there, because I know it's, you know, we need a little levity in times like this, and what you can bring is, I think it's just an expression of what I know is on the inside of your heart, so I appreciate that. I've also enjoyed the cruising the Caneo cars going through the drive-through. That might become a ritual too, after this, you know, maybe have a little competition with that or something. That was good. And I must say, you know, I stopped by a couple of months ago to see if I could help, and things were running smoothly. You know, I know my wife stopped by a couple of times, but to see how this has grown over the last couple of months is incredible, and yet it still runs smooth from what I can tell and from what you say. Now, I know there's a lot of effort to go into it, to getting the food prepared and making sure you have the staffing, especially with the staffing challenges that we've had recently.
That's right, you were there at the very first week.
Yeah.
When Julie and I were running it,
Yes.
Victor wasn't there.
No, Victor wasn't there, that's
So
right.
now it's even more organized.
Yes, yes. That was 2 months ago, so just to see how things have progressed. And I know you had a foundation upon which to start because you had the program already, but this just kind of took a little twist. But again, I say this many times as to how this organization and you, the staff in particular, are so resilient and creative that you just make things happen. Whether it's an emergency, a virus, or day-to-day routine, you know, it just continues to be a shining star example of how this organization works. And so just thank you for your efforts and how you, again, provide that example, and especially to a population in our community which needs that extra TLC. And so just thank you for doing that, and I appreciate the presentation. I always appreciate the special programs that we have because we learn so much from them, especially firsthand. So thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Nichols, and all the other comments that were made. And I would like to echo many of the comments, such as the presentation, very well done. Also, the added joy and smiles, I'm sure, Patty, that you provide as people drive up to get their food and they see you. That is so neat and so special. And it, as I think Director Nichols mentioned, that's you and that's what's in your heart. You mentioned City of Moore Park, and then lastly, City of Ojai getting involved with the programs. Now, does that mean that they did not have a senior meals program prior to this?
No, they all have their programs as well. We just didn't know too much about how they ran until recently because we get to talk to each other every week now. So they do, it's just everyone's kind of changed, and some people are doing hot meals, some are doing frozen, some are doing the restaurant program, so every site's kind of doing it a little bit differently.
Okay. Mentioning the restaurant program, after all this is behind us, as this too shall pass, I would like to see a list of our local restaurants who have contributed to this program, and I'd like to patronize them and thank them, you know, the managers when they go to the restaurant for their part that they've played when our community needed them. So when you have a chance, when this is all over, I'd like to see that list.
Absolutely.
And also in the mask program, just a minute, Doug. On the mask program, I noticed you're distributing them as far as to West Hills Hospital.
Yes, I actually have, my best friend, her husband is an oncologist there, so they, he had requested them.
Well, that's great that the fact that we have that many extras that we can reach that far, you know, with the handiwork of so many people. And you mentioned that person on his bike with the meal in his basket. If you looked in the rack behind him, he also had a box. I don't know if that was a second meal for somebody else, or but he was really into it, and I think that's great. And the fact that so many people take advantage in need that take advantage of this program. So again, thank you. Director Nichols, you had another comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. My daughter is a nurse at Los Robles and has been taking selfies and sharing with us her various mask and cap combinations. And not only her, but with her comrades there. And she's been posting those on Instagram and talking about the program, but then also the various donations they've had with food. But she sends us, she's got like 350 friends or something like this, so she sends it out. So your handiwork and yours and your contributors is being well recognized throughout the community and beyond. And that's just my daughter. I presume there's many others that are doing the same. So you can let the folks know that are preparing this, that is much appreciated and getting a lot of media exposure.
I will.
It's the type that they'll probably never see.
Yeah, they're really sweet because a lot of the agencies have sent, they send me thank you notes and then I send it out to them. So like 4 different agencies have written thank you notes to them, and I've gotten emails, and I always make sure to send it out to them as well.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You betcha, and thank you, Julie, and thank everybody else, as mentioned, that's been involved in this program from the staff. All right, with that, we're moving on to item number 4, items from the public. Does anybody have any public present?
No, sir, there is no public present this evening, unless there's somebody online, Mr. Segedy. No public. No
Very
public
good,
to
thank
speak.
you. We're moving on to approval of the agenda. I'd entertain a motion at this time.
I'll move approval.
Thank you, Director Huffer and Hope. Boy, our Zoom participants are right on it. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments? If not, roll call vote, please. Elaine?
Director Lang?
Yes.
Director Nichols?
Yes.
Director Holt?
Here.
Director Huffer?
Yes.
Director Cuthbert?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes. We're moving on to item number 6, consent calendar 6A, approval of the minutes of May 7th, and B, approval of the warrants as presented in the board packet. Any comments or questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move approval of number 6, consent calendar, both A and B.
Thank you, Director Holt
Second.
and Director Huffer. Any other comments or questions? If not, roll call vote, please.
Director Lang?
Yes.
Director Nichols?
Yes.
Director Holt?
Yes.
Director Hopper,
Yes.
Director Cuthbert.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes. We're moving on to item 7, deferred matters. And at this time, I'd like to open the public hearing, preliminary budget fiscal year 2020-2021. Per our understanding, there are no public present, no comments from the public. So I'd like to close the public hearing on our fiscal budget of 2020-2021. Moving on to item 8, items for discussion, CRPD update regarding COVID-19 local emergency. Mr. General Manager.
Thank you, Chair Lang and members of the board. In the past, when I've done this, I've kind of handed out a couple flyers to the board members here and tried to get out an email to you at home that you may or may not get before the meeting, because this is something I try to wait till the last minute to pull together, because things have been changing, and I kind of wait till the day of to figure out if there's new orders or some new information. But because I have been asking Mark, like, well, do you think this is possible and that? He's a genius in figuring Zoom out even better and better. So with that, we can actually pull up a presentation and do my little outline here with some links. Oh, see, I jinxed it by calling him a genius.
Which one do you want first?
The one I just sent you, yeah. So that's just an outline of the remarks I was going to make tonight. And normally I would, if I were to do this orally, you guys probably wouldn't get the whole handout. But since I know some of you are home and some of you are here, I think it's better to be able to see the outline. So with that, I want to have maybe Mark, you can click on the what's open, what's closed. So as you know, it's right on top.
Oh yeah, I have it.
Yeah, so what's open, what's closed. So this is what we have been putting on our website every week as it changes and is updated. So this is on the homepage as a link, I think, to the COVID information on the homepage. So the great news is what's open. The parks are open, tennis courts, pickleball courts, disc golf, volleyball, the Teneo Creek West Equestrian Facility at Waverly, the dog park and off-leash areas, and now all the Costco trails. So that's the great news. And what is closed are the community centers, pools, playgrounds, basketball courts, skate park, the bike park, and the restrooms and drinking fountains. So going back to the outline is why are some of the things open and closed, and the link there is, see the link on that page, will that work? Oh, see, I see what you did there. So why are they closed? So this is the California State COVID-19, so covid19.ca.gov. And it is not easy to find some of the information on the pages. So this information is something that's on the roadmap for reopening or resilience roadmap for reopening, and you have to click into the county variance information. And when you get into county variance information, you have to scroll all the way down to the bottom of this page. And right there, you'll see the following are not open. And you can kind of read that yourself. But these are the kinds of items that are going to be in stage 3 of the 4 stages. We have just entered into stage 2 by doing sort of the restaurants and non-essential businesses and some of the things that are reopening. But what they specifically listed as not permitted to operate, you can see that from the web page, but you can go back to my outline because I actually just wanted to highlight in yellow. So I wanted to highlight in yellow from that. That's just a copy and paste out of there, but I highlighted in yellow the types of things that we do, CRPD does, that are not really okay by the state of California standards still. So, the sense that we use some of our indoor facilities as gyms or fitness studios, a lot of indoor like fitness, indoor museums and gallery space, community centers, pools, playgrounds, picnic areas, cultural ceremonies, concert, we do the concerts in the park and the in Borchard, we have the fireside concerts and stuff. So, and then live audience sports, I don't quite know what the definition of that is, if it really means pro and college sports with big giant audiences, or if they even mean ASO with mom and dad on the sideline. I am not sure. Festivals. So you can kind of see we still have some significant limitations. When I look at the application that the county had submitted to the state in order to go into stage 2, one of the things they did was create a sector risk assessment, and they tried to put a lot of different activities into different categories based on the contact intensity, the number of contacts, and the degree at which the activities can be modified to allow for 6 feet of social distancing. So, for example, you know, they do restaurants, bars, gyms, all those kinds of things, and where they put things like, you know, youth sports, like contact youth sports, it's considered high, high, low, which would be high contact intensity, high number of contacts, and a low ability to change it so that you can stay 6 feet apart. So it's hard to play high school basketball without touching someone else, or football or whatever, right? So they've got this, you know, kind of outline of where they think things are going to go. Most likely those things in yellow, where you imagine the volume of people are pretty high, they're pretty close together, it's hard to keep them apart. Those things are going to be probably stage 3 things, and from what I gather, stage 3 won't happen until 2 to 4 weeks after stage 2. And I think stage 2 officially started a couple days ago. So it looks like any of that stuff is probably 2 to 4 weeks away from being reopened. And that is the best sense of I can make of all of this so far. So we are poised to kind of try to get things going again, but we are putting the activities we do through that lens before we try to, you know, take the next step. Rochelle may mention later during her comments or not, but she's been working really hard on what to do with, like, what we call camps or childcare, because childcare is allowed with a whole bunch of criteria, and we're kind of thinking, okay, how can we do it in a way that follows the guidelines? So we can do childcare, but we might end up using community centers to do that childcare. So, you know, even though what we think of as a community center, which is a drop-in place where the public's allowed to just walk in the lobby, we may have to keep them closed, but look at if we can use them for childcare so that, you know, no one can just drop in, but we're still using it for childcare, which we can do. And I know Rochelle's working really hard on doing. So that's kind of, that's the outline of where we are with the what's open, what's closed. And then I had another, a link to the Ventura order on the outline. So go back to my outline. And yeah, so it's, this is the actual order on, if you click on that link, and is that a live link or not?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay. Okay, so here's the current county of Ventura, Stay Well Ventura County. So they've changed it from the Stay Safer at Home or Stay Well at Home to, they call it now Stay Well at Home, Safely Reopening Ventura County. So if you scroll down to the bottom of page 5 of that document, had it over there. So that's actually, I was looking for the actual thing you had open, which was the Stay Well. Yeah, there it is. There it is, down to the bottom of page 5. You'll see that what they call the essential activities that are allowed. So that paragraph says, hey, basically you're generally supposed to be staying at home and not going out unless you're engaged in an essential activity. And earlier in there, they talk about not, no mass gatherings and not gatherings. So if you look at that, you only go out for essential activities, and there's a list of different things like getting medical treatment, or, you can kind of start scrolling down the various things that they say that you can do, funeral general services under certain conditions. It's still pretty wedding ceremonies, a gathering of any size. So there's these restrictions, but on the page 7, item 6 is what I wanted to show. Page 7, item 6. So that's the specific section under the Ventura County order that has kind of given us the green light with some of our activities as well. So the ones that aren't limited by the state, but that the County of Ventura have decided to specifically list as activities people, can engage in. So that's part of the basis why we've added, those things we do to the green category, if you will. So that's the kind of outdoor activity they're looking at. So they're basically looking for us to get people doing things that are, not high contact, not high numbers. If you can do it with, just your household unit or just a couple people and you're not physically touching each other, you're staying 6 feet apart, go ahead and do those things. So that's just the example of what the Ventura order looks like. If you haven't actually gone to check it out, that's on BC Emergency. So now let's go to the one we did today with the staff. Let's go to that one. So what we are required to do is create these things called worksite specific plans for the different facilities that are open. And right now we're under development with those, and this is one of the things that you're required to complete for the county. You actually have to go online and self-certify that you have done all the different things on their checklist. So we're just going to kind of run through. So you have to identify who's responsible for the plan. You have to conduct a risk assessment of your facility. So it's general office space. You need to then provide some employee information, communication, and training. So we did that with staff at a big Zoom meeting and had everybody on there, and we went over this stuff, which includes all the training topics, and it's really basic. If you've been paying attention at all to what's going on, it's, stay 6 feet apart. If you're in a close proximity or in common areas, you consider wearing a face covering, hand wash frequently, physically distance, all that kind of stuff. This comes right off a lot of the links right to the CDC. It does require us to provide information to everybody about the different various leave benefits they have, not only CRPDs that are just the normal leaves that are available, but also the ones that are unique to the Family's First Coronavirus Relief Act. I can never remember. Did I get it right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, and then the one that followed, which is the CARES Act. So there's different leave balances that are part of that as well. So we educate the employees that these are all available, and the purpose of that is really about the next section, which is individual control measures. So you actually can choose which way to go. Do you want to temperature check everyone who walks in the building and require them, to go through some sort of modest health screening before they come in? Or do you allow them to self-certify at home or, looking in the mirror? And we went with the self-certify at home, which is you just simply have to kind of run through the 6 or 7 most common symptoms. Basically, am I feeling okay to go in and work? And I think in the normal times, before coronavirus, a light cold, you might be coughing a little, you'd go into work. Like a lot of people didn't stay home because they had a light cold. We'd get into debates, somebody who came in on their deathbed with the flu, some people would still come in and be like, no, go home. But it's really saying to people, if you have any of these symptoms, or if you're all feeling unwell, we gave you all this leave time, the federal government gave you all this leave time, don't come into work, stay home, don't spread any kind of illness. So that's part of what the education and training was. That even required us to let them know that if in fact they do get sick at work, they would even be entitled to the workers' comp presumption of workplace, an injury at the workplace. So we've gone through all that. And then really personal protective equipment for us in an office setting is really nothing more than what you see. We here at Hillcrest generally have our bandanas or masks. We don't wear them when we're in our offices or at our workspace. But generally, if we're gonna go walk the hallways or have a quick meeting with several people, we'll just, throw a mask on for a minute, a cloth face covering, and have that on, is how we've been doing it. And then we actually have a little sample here. There's like a bottle of hand sanitizer and wipes. So in all of our common meeting rooms and kitchen break rooms and like the copier room, we just have very clear out on the table with a little table tent sign saying, hey, please, leave the place cleaner than you found it, and before you even use it, wipe it down. So we'll be going through a lot of wiping our surfaces and stuff to try to keep, stuff at bay. So that will be visible and available. Gloves will be available but not required, and I doubt that those will be highly utilized in the office space. And then I think that's pretty good. And then physical distancing, normal, 6 feet, just like everyone else did. So we did that for Hillcrest Center as office space. It's not like we started from scratch. We actually had to follow a template from Cal OSHA and California Department of Public Health. This only came out on May 12th. So we've gone through all the checklists and made our own plan comply with their guidelines. So we have that in place for Hillcrest, and we're, I think, right there with OSY and the Borger Chop where the guys go. So where we've already been working, a lot of what we were doing, was nice. Like we were doing a lot of these things that came into the plan. So it said, some of you might already be an essential business, you've been running, but we still need you to log in and self-certify. So as of yesterday, we self-certified and we are good to go. And then just as we get ready to put all of these red things into green and reopen, we'll be creating a plan like this for literally every single amenity and facility that CRPD has. Obviously, they get easier as you go because some things will just stay the same, but there's definitely uniquenesses to some of our amenities and facilities. And for example, this was only for our office space. We really haven't addressed yet the technical things about when we start bringing in people into like programming for the community center side of Hillcrest Center. So that's kind of where we're at. So this is the same thing all of the business sector that's reopening is having to do as well. So your restaurants are doing these, and all the retail shops that are trying to reopen, they have to do these. So this is kind of everybody's doing this, coming up with these shops. And there's some scary language as the county had to certify with the state. They gave very detailed, I looked at their application, it's online, but it's like 50 or 60 pages. But it has some very specific criteria that it has to meet for the state to allow it to go into stage 2. And it's interesting to just kind of peek at it and read through it to see what the county is saying about our county. And it basically says, and if we have our numbers or the hospital, anything starts to backslide, they may have to re-implement some of the closures. So it's kind of like, I think the analogies I've been hearing is that, it's not a light switch, it's a dial. So they're going to keep letting things slowly open until, we're fully open and we're not experiencing the case load they fear, whatever the thresholds are on that. So that's the system, how the state imposes the rules, the county tries to meet them, and then we certify with the county in terms of how we're operating. So that's it. The park side has not really changed much in the world of coronavirus. There's definitely some things about touching equipment and trucks, but in terms of once the guys are out in the parks, they're largely doing the same thing they've been doing, taking care of all of our parks. The folks doing the office work here at Hillcrest Center, paying the bills and that kind of thing, have been, working in the office environment. It's the rec folks that have really been doing all sorts of different, unique, twisty things, coming up with all sorts of creative stuff. And 2 weeks from now, I'm going to say it now, we're going to have a really cool special presentation. Even though it was tentative, it was tentative this morning, but now it's not tentative, so I'm saying it. They're going to come and do a presentation on all the different things that rec has been doing during these past like 8 8 or 10 weeks or so, and I asked them to do that on top of get ready for reopening, because I think we're within 2 to 4 weeks of getting to reopen. And you brought your program guide tonight, so did you hand that out already?
Yes.
Okay, good. So what I just want to say right now, rather than later, I'll say it now, is how grateful I am to Rec for being as crazy flexible as they have been and putting out something that's pretty different than what we've normally done. We've got all these ideas and classes and programs ready to go. We don't know exactly when. We don't have to have exact dates, but man, as soon as we can flip the switch on the internet and start taking people, we will. So that's where we are that's our COVID update. I apologize, and there is one piece of feedback I was hoping to get from you. It's under the discussion item of COVID, but here's the situation that I'm struggling with, and I'm looking for some guidance or nods or just a sense from the board of where they are. We had a phone call with our fireworks vendor. Right now, as of today, we could not do the fireworks show because of the mass gatherings. Might that be different a month from now? Maybe. The problem is that the fireworks vendor has to do some things in a lead time to get the fireworks ready to go. So I have to pay $26,000 by the end of the month if I want to hold on to the July 4th fireworks date with the fireworks vendor. If I do not pay, then, you know, he's like, hey, then I can't promise you that I would be able to say yes if you told me 2 weeks later. Maybe, but probably not. So, and this was us like really having it out, because we were supposed to have paid him 90 days before July 4th, and we're going all the way to 30 days before. It was a good conversation, but he basically said, I need to pretty much know by the end of the month. If we can't do the 4th, what he is saying is, I will do any other night from, that's mutually agreeable from here through November, but he gets his regular business cycle started in December and July 4th, and I don't think he wants to guarantee, like he won't just roll our money over till next July 4th. I asked him that straight up. If we can't do this year, can we just leave it as a deposit for next year? So basically we're taking, I have to decide, do I write a check? We do it on July 4th if we can, and if we can't, we hopefully can throw another date in between now and November. The city is okay with that, the idea of it being a different date. They would entertain the idea of doing a fireworks show on a different date later in the summer or into the fall. But, they like everybody's basically saying, hey, if you can do them, we're all gonna wait and see. But do you want to take the risk and do it? The way we would be out if, say, the fireworks company, went out of business, like bankruptcy, which who knows, or if we go all the way to November and still can't have a fireworks show because of mass gatherings are still limited. So that's kind of where we're at. We're risking $26,000 to try to hold on to a July 4th date. So I'm kind of thinking, is that worth it, or do we do what, frankly, almost every agency I'm aware of in our area has already done, which is cancel them. Westlake, Moorpark, Simi, Camarillo, Santa Barbara, Agora, everybody's canceled. So that's the other thing, is we'd be the only one trying to do it on July 4th as well. So I'm kind of trying to get a sense of that, of whether you guys want me to go for that, to hold on to what is getting awfully close to whether it is realistically happening or not.
Do you want us to comment?
Yeah, I'm just looking for input or comments. I don't necessarily, for the Brown Act, I don't necessarily want a recorded vote, but if you guys want to give me your kind of wisdom or thoughts, and then I'll try to, use that for deciding.
Okay, at this time, we'll have comments on your complete report. As any specific items, comments, or questions of the general manager on his COVID-19 update? Anybody?
I saw Director Cusworth has her hand up.
Okay. Director Cusworth,
Okay, well, as far as the COVID-19 update, I think that was very good. It sounds like you're being very thorough and you're, right on top of everything. As far as the fireworks go, when you were first talking about it, I thought, well, maybe we could have Labor Day fireworks, maybe we could have Halloween fireworks. And then when you started saying that everybody else is canceling, I thought if we did actually have July 4th fireworks, would we have everybody within an hour distance coming in here? I mean, would we be way overcrowded? I mean, and is there a possibility that we would just be throwing out the $26,000? I mean, that's no small amount of money there. So at the beginning, I was a little bit, yeah, let's just go for it. And then the more you started talking, I thought, man, maybe not. I mean, if nobody else is doing it, maybe this would just be the year without fireworks and people would do other things. I don't know. One thought I had is I'm always just a soft heart. I hate to see the fireworks companies all going out of business. But are we in the business of keeping fireworks companies in business or keeping our own? So I'm a little hesitant on that. I'm not really saying a yes or no, but I am a little hesitant, maybe a little bit like when LA closed their trails, we closed our trails because we were afraid of having a huge influx in. If we're going to be the only fireworks show this entire year, no matter when we have it. Is that
I couldn't tell you no matter when. Most people haven't asked the question, are you rescheduling it? It's been, are you doing them on July 4th or not? So I imagine there might be some other communities that decide they're going to reschedule, but I think on July 4th, I definitely know those agencies have all canceled their July 4th show. I couldn't tell you whether they've already said, yeah, and we're going to do one on Labor Day, or yeah.
Okay. I don't think we would have as many people come to our show if we did one on Labor Day. So maybe that would be fine, but you're just asking for some ideas. I think that my problem would be potentially losing $26,000 when probably most people would be okay with just not having a fireworks show this year, because usually the whole fireworks show is to do it on the 4th of July. That's the idea. That's the tradition. If you didn't do it on the 4th of July and you did it another time, I think people would come and it would be great, but I don't think it's like, we can't put up Christmas trees in December, we'll all do it in February. It's like, well, you kind of do it like, people have things that they do at certain holidays. So I think that would take a little bit of the pizzazz out. My other concern was that if we ended up doing it on the 4th of July, which would be great, we would have so many people coming here that could potentially be a problem. I don't know if that would happen or not, but those are just a few thoughts.
thank you. Yes, Director Huffer.
Comments on a few things. First, let me deal with the fireworks issue. I share the same concern that Director Cusworth was expressing, that if by any chance we were able to do fireworks on the 4th of July, we would be drawing people from not just an hour or 2 or 3 hours. I mean, there are people who are driving 5 hours to get a haircut in Northern California. So to see fireworks anywhere on the 4th of July would be just absolutely nuts. If we decided somewhere along the way that we wanted to do fireworks some other time of the year, maybe, but if the fireworks company or any fireworks company is still in business, they're probably going to be so desperate for business that they would be willing to do almost anything, anytime. So I'm not in favor of spending the $26,000 to maybe hold them for some time during the year. Couple of things that you mentioned during your COVID-19 update. I've been, I haven't been studying all this in detail, but I have periodically looked through the state guidelines as they update them and the county guidelines as they update them. And what strikes me in both cases, and it's understandable, is that you read the same paragraphs week after week, month after month, and I suspect that they leave everything in there unless somebody specifically says, should we change this or should we change that? So some of the facilities that we have in the Park District may not be getting a lot of attention just because no one brings them up. The one that comes particularly to mind, just because I've been reading about it, I'm not a swimmer myself, but I know there are a lot of recreational swimmers out there who get up the crack of dawn to swim at the Cal Lutheran pool. I'm wondering, because I know that pools have been specifically excluded, they're in that list and they continue the list week after week. If there's, if someone pointed out, whether it's our agency individually or the state rec agency or somebody points out that maybe swimming pools could be reopened with certain guidelines. And I don't claim to be an expert in this, but from what I've been reading, many of the so-called experts are saying that the chance of spreading the virus in the chlorinated water is virtually nil. The chlorine almost certainly kills the virus. The biggest concern at a swimming pool is the people who are in the locker room or on the pool deck or something like that getting too close together. But if there was some way of instituting the kind of guidelines that you're doing for other facilities, maybe pointing out to the powers that be that something like swimming pools maybe could be reopened not well into Section 3 or something like that. There probably, I'm sure there are other programs and facilities the Park District has that are similar that, way back when the state and the county said, we can't do this, and they just keep repeating it week after week. So something to think about. Two other things on the COVID-19. One, you were talking about, you were talking about the guidelines for employees basically self-policing themselves, which is certainly a lot easier. But I'm wondering.
That's what I.
Yeah, I'm wondering what happens.
Last week, or last time.
Yeah, I'm wondering what happens for an hourly employee who is trying to decide, well, I may not be perfectly healthy, but I really need the money. Should I come to work and hope that I don't infect somebody, or should I stay home and not get paid? So I'm a little bit concerned about that. And then the other COVID-19 related thing, and I'm sure that Rochelle is looking at all different ways of running programs, but I think it was in the Acorn today talking about the city possibly allowing restaurants to change their operations a little bit and have tables on sidewalks or parking lots or something like that, so that it's easier for them to spread out. And I'm just wondering if there aren't some or a lot of our programs that can be at least partially repurposed out of doors as opposed to indoors. So a lot of stuff, but there you go.
Thank you, Director Huffer. Any other directors like to make comments? Yes, Director Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. General Manager, for the update. I know it's a very fluid and moving target and changes momentarily. So appreciate that. I'll start with a couple of comments about the issues at hand. I've stated several times in the past of where I think we need to kind of be a little more accepting of people's freedoms and choices, and I still maintain that. I just have reflected back over the last couple of months of the messages we've been getting. First was we have to flatten the curve, and then there was no curve of any significance. The numbers just weren't there. It was social distancing. Now it has to be a reduced number of cases, but the cases are just minimal at best. Now we're businesses having to register to verify their compliance. It just seems like government is getting so overreaching. It's just, it's like they just don't even want people to participate. It's getting so difficult. I just feel for our local businesses in particular. It's one thing for government agency. We serve our clientele. We want to make sure that we're doing what's appropriate as well as the staff. But small businesses, it's just another extra weight on top of them. My heart goes out to them. But I just keep questioning, being a science guy, you know, where's the science that supports this? And I just have not seen it, and nothing has ever popped up to support this. In fact, I just sent an article to Mr. Friedel today that the CDC is now indicating that it does not appear that the COVID virus is easily transmitted on surfaces as they maybe suspected. It's really more personal. So it's continuing to change, and yet we're continuing to be told what needs to be done. So I'm just kind of a little concerned about all that. And I still maintain that if we have things that are, in fact, I just was thinking about, things that are essential. I thought, well, to a stay-at-home mom with 3 kids, a playground is very essential. Just be able to get the kids out there and play. So it depends on who you ask as to what's essential. I just say, let them have their choice. In fact, some of the things, I'm also on our HOA board where I live, and some of the things we've been getting from guidelines from our attorneys, from the Association of Associations Attorneys, is when it comes to things like opening up swimming pools, the association does not have staffing to regulate who's coming and going and staffing to, keep things cleansed. So basically they're saying if you choose to open your pool, just put a sign up that, you're at your own risk for whatever happens, just leave it at that. And just to be able to post what the guidelines are, say, you're at your own risk to do that. And I understand there's a difference between a government agency and a homeowners association, but at least you're notifying people and letting them make an informed decision. Here are the guidelines, here's the recommendations, you make the choice. So I still maintain that's where we should be, just in our society. Let people enjoy the freedom and liberty that they've been given and make their own informed choices and decisions. When it comes to fireworks, I've also felt that with this cloud over our heads of you just can't do anything, wouldn't it be nice to be able to, have the fireworks as an opportunity for people to get a little excitement, and they don't have to gather to see it. I mean, so many people can see that show from their own home and their own backyard or just out in the streets. Just, let it happen, and those that can see it get to see it. And I know probably that the traditional gathering places would have to be gated or something. Those that have to be advertised in advance. There are no gathering places. If you can view it from your home, that's the only place you can get to see it. But to have some point of encouragement, say, yeah, we're moving forward, we're doing this, and I understand the concerns about people coming from out of town, but I say, let everyone know there's no place to go to see it. There's no gathering spot unless that has since been changed at the time. But I'm of the position to say, yeah, let's try and get some normalcy back into our community. If that's something that we can offer, I fully support it.
Thank you, Director Nichols. Director Holt.
No comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I had a question actually, but it's not on this fireworks. I just wondered, what's the parking situation at our parks? Because the parking lots were closed at one point. I've had questions been asked of me.
Yeah, we had parking lots closed at some of the open space trailheads. That's all open now, so we aren't closing. So the parking lots have never been locked, other than their normal hours.
The only thing that, none of the parking lots have been closed. However, because of the paving project, we've had, 11 different parking lots closed at various times in the last couple of weeks and for the next couple of weeks also. So they might be closed for like 2 or 3 days at a time because of the paving.
That's right.
Okay. Okay, but that's not part of this whole scene. It's just different projects. Okay.
Different project, but people might, because the contractor puts up a sign 48 hours ahead of time saying parking lot closed on these couple dates, so people might infer it's because of COVID, but it's for paving.
Okay, thank you. Had questions.
Thank you, Director Holt. On the fireworks, I'll start with that. I kind of like the thoughts of Director Nichols that somehow, maybe not on the 4th, but in the future, between now and November, if we were to sponsor a fireworks event, and again, maybe even that far out, there won't be gatherings. I believe there will be and there should be. But how many days in advance do you need to book a fireworks event? Jim, do you know?
Well, normally our contract that we do for the 4th, we have in place almost a year ahead of time. I'd say nine months ahead of time at least. And the payment is due 90 days in front of the fireworks, the first half, and then the second half 45 days. So you've actually, I think, paid for the full thing prior to this show, I think. So I had written a letter basically saying, you know, when we had a contract and the 90 days out, I just said, and that's right when everything was just shutting down, and I said with all the uncertainty, it wouldn't be something I would do. Hopefully you'll, if things turn around, you entertain, you know, still doing the fireworks for us. And so I sent them that letter. I asked for 45 days out, which just happened. That's why we had the phone call. I said, I'm still not ready to write you a check, even though we're 45 days out, because I don't know, I'm hoping for one more chance at the county health officers regulations allowing for something that might look like the fireworks could be allowed, you know, which could theoretically happen by the end of May. And he basically said, okay, here's the deal. If you can tell me by the end of the month, I'll give you the July 4th date. Now I know nobody else is doing the July 4th date, so I could probably call him up 2 weeks ahead of time, and as long as he can physically acquire the fireworks, he could probably still do it. It's just you're then gambling on whether, if the rules allow for it, then maybe everyone else tries to jump back in at the last second and get their fireworks show done and might not have enough supply or whatever his limitations are. I was clear on trying to make a decision, and he just said, because I said, if I don't use them this year, can I use them for next July 4th, assuming you're in business? And he said, no, because that's like my whole next new season. My season ends like in November, so I'd let you do them anytime between July 4th and November. So that was the crux of our conversation.
Okay, you kind of touched on what I was looking for, but I'm thinking, you know, July 4th is not going to happen from the things that I've read. And also, I'm glad you're the one that, you know, continually goes through all of the state and county rules. Like Director Huffer, you know, I stopped doing that, you know, a couple of weeks ago because I too saw a lot of repetitive. But my thoughts, Jim, you know, we'll assume that July 4th is not going to happen. I mean, we, you know, still got time, but I would say let's not make, although I don't know how much discussion we should have on this, not specifically agendized, but, you know, I'm thinking maybe forget that, committing to it, and then giving the fireworks company maybe 60, 90 days notice down the road when we do see that an opportunity presents itself. So anyway, just food for thought. In your presentation, you talked about in the playgrounds and picnic areas. The MRCA, in fact, I'll be honest, did a picnic dinner at King Gillette Ranch last evening. And the picnic tables are quote unquote reserved for same families because, you know, there's no 6-foot distance between the tabletop. So I'm wondering if we can institute that similar type of practice, check with the county or something like that, that we could open our picnic area and have signage, you know, for same family members only or something like that.
Caroline, in general, I think what they're referring to is more of a gathering, like meaning if someone was reserving Canary Creek North picnic for an event, we do see quite a few of our patrons using the picnic tables, and and they're practicing social distancing, and if my family sits here, Rochelle's family sits there, Melissa's, they're doing a good job of keeping them apart. It's not a very crowded thing, and people are using them when they want to.
Well, that's good to hear. I wasn't aware of that, and just the experience that we had last evening, and as you most likely all know, King Gillette Ranch is a great environment to have your dinner at. The weather was great. Seeing horses riding through the park, and anyway, I'm glad to hear that we do have some patrons using our picnic tables, and they feel like they're part of a park experience. Any other comments or questions associated with the general manager's COVID-19 update? Okay, thanks again, Jim. Appreciate it. We're moving on to new items. Item 9, 9A, public hearing to consider adoption of resolution number 052120-A, approving engineer's report, confirming diagram and assessment of and ordering levy of assessment for fiscal year 2021, district-wide assessment. And so I'd like to open the public hearing. Any public? No public. I'll officially close the public hearing. Comments by board members?
Mr. Chair, we do have Mr. Hare available to give a report if needed.
Okay, thank you, Director Nichols. Mr. Hare.
Yes, thanks, Chair Lang and members of the board. Back in April 16th, the board approved the resolution which was ordering the intent to levy, and also preliminary approving the engineer's report. This is for the district-wide assessment. We did provide a supplement at that time when the original report had current fiscal year projects in it, and the revised report has next year's fiscal year projects in it, and that those final report was online. This resolution will provide for the ordering of the levy. The notice of public hearing was published in the Acorn on Thursday the 30th, and there was also advertised, the district's budgetary process was advertised in the district summer brochure. With that, available for questions.
Thank you for your report. Any questions by directors? Okay, this is a resolution. Director Huffer.
Yes, I'd like to move adoption of resolution number 052120-A to be read in title only, all future readings to be waived.
Thank you, Director Huffer. Second. Director Kessler, thank you. Okay, we have a motion to approve. Any other comments or questions associated with this? If not, Elaine, read title only, please.
Resolution number 052120-A, a resolution approving engineer's report, confirming diagram and assessment, and ordering continuation of assessment for fiscal year 2020-21 for the Canal Recreation and Park District.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, if not, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Director Lang?
Yes.
Director Nichols?
Yes.
Director Holt?
Yes.
Director Huffer,
Yes.
Director Cuthbert.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We're moving on to item B, public hearing to consider adoption of resolution number 052120-B, ordering the levy of the annual assessments to Landscape Maintenance District 92-1 Rancho Conejo. I'd like to open a public hearing on this item. No public comments. We'll close the public hearing. You have any more reports on this one, Mr. Hare?
Sure, why not? Thanks, Chair Lang, members of the board. Very similarly, back on April 16th, the board adopted a resolution for the intent to levy. This one will be ordering the levy. At that time, at that board meeting, we made some slight modifications to the language, which was reflected into the final engineer's report, which is available online. Public hearing was published in the Thousand of Acorn on April 30th, and also the district's summer brochure of that available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hare, for your report. Are there any questions for Mr. Hare? If not, I got another resolution. Director Huffer, you got it. Okay, Director Holt.
I move that we adopt resolution number 052120-B, ordering the levy of assessments for LMD 92-1 Rancho Conejo, that it be read in title only and all future readings be waived.
Thank you, Director Holt. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Director Huffer. Any additional comments or questions for Mr. Hare on this? If not, roll call vote, please. No, title only. Sorry, Elaine.
Resolution number 052120-B, resolution of the Board of Directors of the Conejo Recreation and Park District, California, confirming the diagram and assessment and providing for the levy of the annual assessments in the Special Maintenance District.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? If not, roll call vote, please.
Director Lang?
Yes.
Director Nichols?
Yes.
Director Holt?
Yes.
Director Huff?
Yes.
Director Cuthbert?
Yes.
Thank you. We're moving on to item number C, public hearing to consider adoption of resolution number 052120-C, ordering the levy of the annual assessments for Landscape Maintenance District 94-1, Dos Vientos. I'll open the public hearing. Any publicly speak on this? If not, we're closing the public hearing. Mr. Hare.
Good, thanks, Chair Lang, and members of the board. And the last but not least, for the Dos Vientos, same story. April 16th, you passed a resolution for preparing the engineer's report. We did some slight modifications to the wording, which is reflected in the final engineer's report, which is available online. This was advertised in the Thousand of Acorn on April 30th, and also available in the district summer brochure. With that, available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hare. Any questions for Mr. Hare? Any comments or questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion for this resolution. Director Holt.
Look at Director Cuthbert, please.
Director
Oh,
Cuthbert.
sorry. Okay, I won't speak again. What was
No,
that all about?
Director Cuthbert. I'm sorry, Director Holt. Okay, Nellie, you've got it.
Okay. I recommend that we adopt resolution number 052120-C, ordering the levy of assessments for LMD 94-1 Dos Vientos, and that it be read in title only and all future readings be waived.
Thank you. Director Holt, would you like to second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? If not, Elaine, could you read it in title only, please?
Resolution number 052120-C, resolution of the Board of Directors of the Conejo Recreation and Park District, California, confirming the diagram and assessment and providing for the levy of the annual assessments in the Special Maintenance District.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions come to mind? If not, roll call vote, please.
Director Lang?
Yes.
Director Nichols?
Yes.
Director Holt?
Yes.
Director Huffer?
Yes.
Director Cuthbert?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to our last item for new items, 9D. And resolution number 0521-20-D, authorizing the submittal of an Order of Americans Act grant application to Ventura County Area Agency on Aging for the project year July 1, starting July 1, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, and July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. Mr. Hare.
I will defer to Ms. Callis.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair Lake, members of the board. So basically, you guys heard Julie speak tonight about how awesome the program is. This is a grant that we actually took over in July of 2010. We've been doing it since then. We've changed it up a little bit, and we have the cafe now. So these dollars allow us to continue to serve the 60 seniors that were on a regular basis coming into our program. And, you know, as Julie told you tonight, through the COVID, we've been serving, you know, about 150 a day, so over 6,500 meals so far in the community, and also helping in many other ways. So I just think Julie did a really awesome job presenting that tonight. Kind of took most of my report away. But this is approval. Staff is recommending authorization for us to submit the grant, and hopefully we'll hear back in the next couple of weeks whether we would actually get it. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Callis. Director Huffer.
Yeah, Rochelle, in the background, you said that the award amount that we're applying for would be $101,101. What has the grant been in the past year?
I believe it was around $88,000 in the past, but because, as Julie had said, the price of the meals are going up, so we're getting that little bit of extra money. And then what happens is a lot of the donations that she gets from the folks that donate, we give that back to VC AAA, and then if we go over our meals, the amount of meals that we're allotted to serve, then that money comes back to us to pay for that overage of meals.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, Director Huffer. Any other comments or questions? Good report, Rochelle. I entertain a motion for this resolution.
Sure, I'll take it.
Thank you, Director Nichols.
Move to approve resolution number 052120-D, authorizing submittal of the Older Americans Act grant application, and that the resolution be read in title only with all further readings waived.
Thank you, Director Nichols. And thank you, Director Huffer, for the second. Any other comments? Are there comments or questions? If not, Elaine, read it in title only, please.
2120-D, resolution of the Board of Directors of the Conejo Recreation and Park District authorizing the submittal of the Older Americans Act grant application to Ventura County Area Agency on Aging for project years July 1, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, and July 1, 2021 to June 30th, 2022.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions? If not, roll call vote, please.
Director Lang?
Yes.
Director Nichols?
Yes.
Director Holt?
Yes.
Director Huffer?
Yes.
Director Cuthbert?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes. Item 10, reports and announcements. We have just one, 10A. budget performance report. Any comments or questions? Yes, Director Hufford.
Just a comment. I mean, the comment was made in the revenue section, the fact that the amended budget number does not include the 4.2 million SCE settlement, while the received to date does include that. So that 105% figure that's shown in the report is a little bit misleading. If you were to subtract out the 4.2 million from the 26 million, you'd have somewhere around 22 million received to date, exclusive of the SCE, which would be about, I did quick math, is about 84%, which is, we're 84% of the way through the fiscal year, so 84% of the revenue thus far.
Good point. The staff have any, Melissa, you have any comments on that?
No, your analysis is correct.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments or questions on the budget report? Okay, we're moving on to item 11, department reports. Mr. Hare.
Sure, thanks, Chairman, members of the board. Just one item. Last week we received 12 proposals for the Canadian Community Park Assessment Project. We've been going through them, and we're going to start collaborating with the recreation staff and hopefully come back to the board the second meeting in June with a recommendation for award of the contract to the top proposer. With that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hare. Any questions of Mr. Hare? Okay, I see no raised hands. We're moving on to item 11B, Recreation Division, Ms. Callis.
Yes, thank you, Chair Lang, members of the board. So I actually have a couple of things I think you'll be interested in. So just based off of other things that came up today, as far as the pool, I just want you guys to know that Dee and Xavier are both very, very involved with organizations that have many different pool folks in it. I think it's called SMAP. I was going to get it confused with the and they are actually looked upon as experts in SMAP, and so they are keeping in tune with things. Our pool is actually one of the safer pools in Ventura County because we invested in a system that actually killed all of the germs, like 99.9% sure, and I believe we are the only pool in Ventura County that has it. I believe a couple like splash pads might have it. So Dee is ready to and thinking about all the different things that you guys were talking about as far as if she's available to open, will we be able to have community swim, which might not be possible because of gatherings, but could we do more private lessons and what different things that we can do and how she's going to maintain cleanliness of the bathrooms, and do we have to move all the lounge chairs and the tables off the deck. And so Dee and Xavier, I've been working on that. And training staff, they just got approval to go ahead and continue doing first aid and CPR training so that when the pool does open, we have our lifeguard certifications and everybody kind of up to date with everything. So they are in communications and sitting on different channels to try to get the pool open, but that's where we are on that. We did have a discussion today in regards to, for Director Huffer, part-time and sick leave and how that will affect people if they are sick. There are lots of options through the HR department that we will be directing staff to HR department for Shelley to be able to help them work through if they are sick and we do ask them to go home, or if they can't come in because they're showing signs of and symptoms of being sick. So if they've used all of their California sick leave or their PTO, there might be other options that Shelley would be able to help them out with. Rentals, as you heard and saw on the thing, the rentals, we can't open up picnic areas, so every month is kind of a juggle for us because we have to plan on our end when we're going to allow people to start registering. If we let them register or rent, then in 2 weeks, if we can't let them have it, then we have to refund or give back. So we're probably going to be extending. Right now, we're not taking any rentals until June 1st. We we are probably going to extend that to July 1st, but we'll open it as soon as we can have gatherings and people can, you know, have parties or weddings or funerals or whatever they're going to have out in our rentable facilities. So we're looking at that right now. And we'll talk about programs a little bit. On your rec highlights, some really cute things that our preschool teachers are doing, and a cute little story. You guys will hear more about that on June 4th when staff gives their presentation. The website, last time you guys had asked about how many visits are on for the virtual rec center, and so we gave you those numbers. We also threw in the numbers for how many people have actually visited the coronavirus page that's on our website also. And then we have, as we've been giving you in the past, the number of hours that staff has worked in the last week. So we had a few additional hours this last week for staff. And then I just wanted to spend a few minutes talking about the program guide. As you guys saw, it's a much smaller edition. There isn't, you know, dates and times and how much classes are. This was really an opportunity for us to be able to say, hey, we're still here, we still want to have classes, here's some of the classes that we want to have, but as the front says, this is going to be kind of a rolling thing, and please be patient with us, and as we are allowed to open things up and meet the guidelines, we will open things up. So with that being, and it was a way to also save some money, so we saved about half of what we normally spend in printing on the summer brochure. So, and we'll probably be doing the same thing for the fall, just because we don't know what fall is going to look like with school going back in or not going back in, and size of gatherings also. With that being said, our plan right now is to open summer camp and summer clubs. And when I mean summer clubs, it's like a half-day camp. There's programs that are like 2.5 to 3 hours, because those are most similar to child care. So those would be what parents who are working and are essential workers would use. So it's not recreational activity, 1-hour craft class. So these are classes that are going to meet the needs of helping families get back to work and stuff like that. So we are looking to open registration on June 1st at 9 a.m., and that's going to start being publicized next week. So that is our hope. I can't say it won't change if something happens, but if things keep going the way that we're going, we feel that we can meet the needs and the requirements and the regulations that are set forth by the CDC, the health department, and the government to run classes. So as some of you guys had talked about, we will be utilizing, the plan would be to utilize the community centers, not open to the public by any means, but just specifically for programming, and there would be 10 kids with 1 teacher in a room. I think legally we could have 12 kids, but we're going to try to see if we can run the program at a break even at 10 kids. So we're just now, I met with staff today, and we're working on what regulations we need to do, what papers we have to fill out, the report that Jim did, and the one that Matt is working on. We actually presented our program plan for reopening, which is our baseline requirements that we're saying in recreation for any programs that staff has to do for training, for health checks, and all of that good stuff, and cleaning. Those were the 3 main topics. So as far as the next thing that I see coming, not yet, but hopefully sooner than later, will be outside programming. So basically, everything I've been hearing for a couple weeks now is that you want to do everything outside, because the least likely, most space, and least likely for the germs to be contagious. And so as soon as we can have gatherings of more than 2 people and of different families, then sports department's already thinking about it, and supervisors are trying to think of what can we do outside. Can we do yoga outside, karate outside, tai chi outside? Can we do, instead of soccer, do a skill building class outside? So, I've left it in the hands of the supervisors and their teams to come up with new ways to do different things to use our outdoor space to the best of our ability. room available for, the website, just so you know, when you go on the website, you will see a different book in a couple of days, early next week. And it'll be the full book that has the prices and the classes and the dates and the times. But what we're doing is, instead of on June 1st, them all being available, we had to work with our developers of our website and our registration system and stuff, and they have actually made a pending area for us now. So all of the classes will be pending instead of view only, and then our supervisors will be able to go in, and as we open a class, they will come out of pending and be, so people can register for them. But it's a lot of work that the staff are having to do because they're having to change the sizes of classes, figure out room sizes, and then go in the computer and change all the information. So hopefully we have the right information as we get going. So, and with that, I'm finished.
Thank you, Rochelle. Very good report. A lot going on. Director Huffer.
Yeah, Rochelle, I'm really excited that you're able to look at some semblance of a summer camp for the kids. I think that's terrific, and looking a little further down the line at programming, which is great. You mentioned in the summer camp / childcare program that you're focusing on parents who are essential workers. Is there some way that you're determining that when they apply for a spot, or is it just going to be first come, first serve?
No, it would be a first come, first serve. I'm just saying that child care is considered an essential duty, and so we're kind of falling under that, even though we're not child care as an all-day camp in the summer. That's also considered kind of the child care for folks that work and stuff. That's where that kind of comes into play.
All right. So just whoever happens upon the website and finds it is going to be able to sign up for it. I'm just wondering if there's some way of, without a lot of time and expense, of letting truly essential workers like folks at the hospitals and nursing homes and things like that, maybe know in advance, or at least know that it's there, as opposed to, oh shoot, we didn't have a chance.
Yeah, I think that, the Boys and Girls Club is currently open and doing business for essential workers. I believe the Y is going to open on the 1st. So there have been those opportunities for essential workers. So, I mean, I could probably send out some emails to some folks, just making sure that they know. But it's going to be currently first come, first serve. I'd have to think that through on how I'd make sure, because I don't, like right now we have in-district and out-of-district, and we actually, because everything, all the calls that I've been on are saying to keep people in like local areas. So the closer knit you can keep, so like if all the kids in the Borchard area go to the Borchard Center and all the kids in the Dos Anjos, I don't even think I can get that specific, but I think what I'm going to be doing is I'm only going to be opening it to in-district at this point, and see what the need is before I open it to out-of-district folks for our camps. The only one that I'm thinking about doing differently is therapeutics unit, because a lot of people come from out-of-district, but we're still kind of struggling what that program looks like because of needing to keep 6-foot separation. And if we're going to be saying, like one of the suggestions is that when kids are together and you can't be 6-foot distance, that you're wearing a face mask. So, and with special populations, those two things might not be as possible. So we're just trying to figure out what that looks like too for them. But all the other programs, I'm thinking in district, that way we keep people from the Thousand Oaks area in the small groups of 10, same kids. It's 5 days a week, it's all day. We're not looking at having 2 days a week and 3 days a week and all that stuff, because it financially doesn't pan out with the rules that we have to have now with the same teacher with them every day.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions for Ms. Callis? I was just Director Nichols.
Thank you, sir. In reference to your rentals, thank you for the report, by the way. Regarding with the rental status, I guess, if you plan to not having rentals online available until July 1st, well, let's say in the next week some miraculous thing comes happen and all of a sudden now, hey, you can start renting. Would it just be like a first come, first serve? Hey, you know what? We're not taking rentals till July 1st, but they're open. Just go for it. Is that basically what would happen?
Yeah, they have to pretty much all either call a center if they're wanting to rent inside. I think rentals outside will happen way before rentals inside. So more than likely that Andy's gonna become a very busy man.
Yeah.
Is what's gonna happen. But yeah, he would be able to do all the picnic area rentals. And then I think the other thing is picnic areas might become available sooner than sports fields.
Right, right.
So it just depends, it's the best guess. But yeah, they currently can't go online even before all this and pick a date and stuff. Now, we do have a new system that's gone live in-house and eventually down several months from now. That might be something that for picnics people could do online, but for right now, people come in or they call Andy. So we'll probably be encouraging people to email or call, and then they set up a date. So usually people don't call and go, hey, I want a picnic tomorrow. They're setting it out. So we're just saying at this time, we're not gonna take anything and put anything on the books until July 1st, because if we put stuff on the books, then in a week or 2 weeks, we're taking it off the books.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if we open, yeah, it'll be first come, first serve, and, you know, those that wanna rent a picnic area will be back to normal renting them.
And just as a kind of a response to some of the questions I've been getting, some of the chatter I've been hearing, with this forced homeschooling that's been occurring, for better or for worse, I have heard that some families have kind of adjusted and say, this, kind of works because we now have all this flexibility and freedom and can get things done. It made me think about, how programming would be able to serve that population if that seems to build a little traction, and now folks are kind of looking for those types of avenues. Has that been part of your discussion on,
We do that already.
There are some things? Okay.
We have a huge homeschool population, and we have lots of, I think we deal with over 10 different schools through homeschooling. It's a little bit of a paperwork nightmare that we're trying to, get nipped in the bud a little bit better, get better at it, because it's only been in the last couple of years that we've really seen a rise in the homeschool. So yeah, we have usually in the program guide in the fall, we have a whole little section that's just for homeschoolers. But they can take any of our classes, and then we actually get a certificate from the homeschool, let them sign up, they don't pay, and then we charge the homeschool, and then the homeschool gives us the money to pay for the class.
Okay.
So we do have a whole system, and we actually have a homeschool that utilizes the teen center 5 days a week. That is their homeschool during the day when we're not using the teen center. So we make we charge them rent for that.
Okay. And the last question, which is probably premature, but I'm going to ask it anyhow. As you've gone through this last 2 to 3 months of just, topsy-turvy all the time, trying to be creative, doing the online as much as you can, have you come up with any silver linings yet that you can say, I think we might be able to keep doing this because it fits a need, or is that still a couple months out when you kind of get back together again? Just curious as to what kind of permanent changes do you foresee that you've kind of been forced into in a good or bad way, that's going to become maybe an option in the future?
I look at programming, and I just think it's so important for kids and people to be around people that I personally hope we don't have online virtual classes for a long time. I think that is a niche, and that there are people who can't get out or whatever, so there might be some different things. The music program has done an awesome job. I hope you guys all saw the Hillcrest Center for the Arts video on Facebook. and they've just been doing really good, and so they're already prepping for next school year if they don't get to get back into classes, how they're gonna do this. Theater is being super creative and trying to do some camps this summer, and they'll be doing some virtual stuff. So, I think one of the things that it has been a silver lining is that all of us have got much better at technology, and, you know, having to work from home and do some different things. We've gotten much better at using our 365 and our OneDrive and, you know, Zoom and stuff like that. So I think there's, I still miss, like, I see my staff probably more on Zoom meetings than I did before, but I still miss that one-on-one connection with them. So, I guess a kind of silver lining is we're a little more tech savvy now.
Okay, yeah, and I would have to agree that the social element, I mean, that's key in society in general, but in particular with recreation programs. You know, you come together to do things together, or, you know, it might be just two people, you know, with a, you know, just a tennis match or something, but it's getting together, and obviously people miss that, and I think so the quicker we can get that back to being an option would be wonderful. But thank you for the report, and thank you for the continued creativity. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You bet. Thank you, Director Nichols. Anybody else? I'll just make a quick positive comment, Rochelle, on your rec report. The article about the preschool and reading the comments that both the student and staff added. I thought that was really, really well done and a good story. So thank you for that. Any other comments or questions for Recreation Division? If not, pardon?
I'm sorry, one more thing. Keep an eye on Facebook because we've been doing the rec at home drop-offs. And so if you see on Facebook, we've been doing special little drop-offs to different people, different kids in the community, and people are putting, we're like indoor ditching them and dropping off goodie bags. So, and then Therapeutics actually got to see some of their patrons from a distance, and then I think the seniors will be doing something, I think, next week that'll be fun to see on social media. So just one more thing that we're trying to do to keep socially engaged with the community and our patrons. Sorry about that.
That you don't have to apologize. Thank you. You got a lot on your plate, and as I think it was Director Huffer, the creativity and others have mentioned in the rec division is superb. A little extra effort, I know, on yours and your staff's schedule, so very good. Okay, Management Services, Melissa.
Thank you, Chair and Directors. Just really quick, I wanted to just speak about the sick time that would be available to staff if they did have to call out sick. They would have their California sick available, and then the Families First Act does provide for up to 80 hours of emergency paid sick leave, and for a variety of reasons. I think there's 6 different reasons that you could qualify for that. But basically, it breaks down to if you have symptoms or you think you might be sick or something like that, you pay for actually taking care of someone else who's in that condition. You could get 2/3 of your pay again for up to 80 hours. So that's the kind of extra cost that's available for that circumstance. So just wanted to clarify that, and that I'm available for questions.
Are there any questions from Ms. Smith?
Mr. Chair, I had a question.
Okay, Director Nichols.
Ms. Smith, with that California leave, is that funded by the state of California, or is that through the district?
The California sick leave or the emergency paid sick leave?
But when you're just referring to if someone has the,
Right,
suspects
so,
they might, or is carrying someone who
right, so that's federally mandated emergency paid sick leave that we are not being reimbursed for. Other, if you were a business, you could get a tax credit to offset the expenses of that, but because we don't qualify in the Families First Act for that benefit, we don't get the tax credit, but we are mandated to provide it.
Okay, and so that is just a separate leave line item, a separate from sick leave?
Correct.
Oh, that, okay. All right, thank you.
I apologize. I have an addendum question for Ms. Callis in Recreation. how's the Safe Passage program? Is there anything taking place with that right now?
Yeah, they're still doing the lunches, basically 7 days a week between the school district and Safe Passage. They're feeding kids and families in those neighborhoods every day of the week, and still doing Art Track does STEM programs for them, and Tim Hagel, I almost said Chief Hagel. Tim Hagel is getting donations from farmers and all sorts of different folks that they're being able to provide like 25-pound bags of produce, and I believe they're still providing diapers and wipes for some families too. This is going to continue until about June 15th, when the end of school would happen, and at that point, the school district, I believe, is going to continue doing some lunches at specific locations, and what Safe Passage is going to probably do is provide some additional something on Saturdays, probably. But yeah, they're still going.
Great.
And he's got lots of volunteers.
Yeah.
Sounds
Lots.
good.
He's an amazing man.
Thank you, and I apologize, Melissa, for bouncing off of your report. Any other comments or questions for Management Services Division? If not, Mr. General Manager.
Thank you, Chair Lang and members of the board. I'm glad I brought up the fireworks conundrum that I feel in, and I know my board well, so I feel like I'm in still a conundrum, so thanks for that. 2-2-1 or whatever that was, I'm not quite sure, but I appreciate that because that's how I felt about it. I'm sorry, I don't know. We'll figure it out. The budget that we are working on, as a reminder, we are in the second year of the 2-year approved budget. You know, parks and planning hasn't really changed all that much. Management services still has similar issues. The changes you'll see largely are going to be related to rec. And so when we bring some information to you, we'll be trying to capture, remember, a budget's nothing more than a spending plan, and having so much difficulty trying to know exactly what we can and can't do, the plan will be more planning than how we normally feel, I think, about how solid the numbers are. So I guess as we get ready to show that to you in next week or the next meeting or the meeting after, the meeting after, as we get ready to show you those numbers, I guess hopefully you'll look at them with that same degree of uncertainty that we have about what the future is going to hold. But what some of the things we plan to do is when we bring that with you, we're going to also try to make some recommendations on the capital side and some programmatic things related to the SCE money from the settlement. So that'll be included in that. So even though this is the second year of a 2-year budget, you've already seen it and kind of approved it, it's going to be a bit different than what we've done. So there'll be more changes than in a normal, second year budget. So, and we've intentionally pushed it off. You'd normally probably be looking at it this meeting, but timing wise, we pushed it back about a month just so that we feel like we even have more info about, what we'll be able to do or not do. The CSDA conference, we just got notified, will be canceled in the fall, their annual fall conference. They did cancel. I did go to their virtual days this week. So on Wednesday, we had, a Zoom sort of meeting to hear from different legislators and folks in the administration, which was in the state administration, and then we got to hear from our Natural Resources Secretary, Wade Crowfoot, who actually has a direct oversight over, say, like the Conservancy and a bunch of the state park stuff that we're interested in, and he really impressed me, really cool guy, so that was neat. I'd never heard him speak before, so that was kind of cool. Then just so you're kind of aware, with the trails and the lack of, I think, stores being open, we're not quite sure, but we are getting more interest in our trails than we've ever had, really, and the crowd volume is tremendous. And the folks have been cooped up a long time, and there's a little bit of difficulty with trying to deal with rules. So we are having some struggle with folks, following some of the normal rules, much less social distancing or anything like that on the trail. So we are struggling a little bit. That's largely a COSCA, not a CRPD issue. So this whole weekend, you'll probably see a lot of social media, us trying to get folks to try to think about something other than Wildwood and Paradise Falls in particular. So you'll see some stuff on social media. We started telling people all about the rattlesnake and tick season. It is rattlesnake and tick season, but we might be making them seem like awful demons and that, yeah. So we do have rattlesnakes and ticks every year, but just anything to help try to lower the numbers a bit. And one of the things we thought about doing was letting people know that we do have a rhino that's loose in the Costco open space. So, Mark, if you want to kind of show that. The Chair Lang helped us by sharing this video. We were able to capture an image of one of the a rhino apparently got loose in our open space, so we were able to get that on film. And this is some of the damage they can do if you're really not careful. So we're asking people on the trails to just be aware that
Is this really true, or is this a joke?
No, it's just.
No. It's a joke.
Oh, okay.
It's real footage, but it didn't happen here.
Oh.
Yeah, no, we don't actually have a rhino.
Oh, my goodness.
Whoa. They're strong.
Okay. Yeah, so it's almost over. Chair Lang shared that little video. He's got some free time on his hands to kind of come up with some gems on the internet. So there you go. So there you go. So be careful in the open space. That's the end of my message. I'm available for questions.
Mr. General Manager, did you tell them about the poison oak also?
It is actually poison oak season as well. You're right. Brian Stark is the lead on that, but we probably will have a poison oak post next as well.
Yeah, post big signs. Yes, Director Kessler.
Just to verify that, I was on the trail today to the waterfall. We did see a rattlesnake, and there was a lot of poison oak down by the waterfall. So you certainly would be giving good advice. But however, I did notice that some stores are opening up, and when I used to hike, I used to say, how come the mall parking lot is always crowded and the trails parking lots never are? I think as soon as the stores are opening up, that will come back, and that the cars will go back to the stores and they won't go to the trails. So maybe this is a little period of going outside when they normally wouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, Director Nichols.
Yes, thank you. And probably I would say, because the Director Cussworth, that is, since they can't do any other activities, and the trails is what's available, is probably pushing in that direction as well. A follow-up, Mr. General Manager, on the trails, which I know is a COSCA issue, but I think in today's Acorn, see an article about a hiker complaining about mountain bikes not following etiquette, and that bikers never stop for hikers even though they're supposed to, and this was a hiker who is aware of trail etiquette. So maybe that would be another message for Mr. Stark to pass along, is to make sure that bicyclists, and I would say equestrians, but they pretty much know the rules, but kind of promote the trail etiquette as well.
Well, that's never going to happen.
Pardon me?
Well, I'm sorry, that's never going to happen. But I mean, I'm glad you brought it up.
Oh, no, I know that. I can tell you, as I'm sure you can do,
their bike every time
is how many times I've had a near miss with a mountain bicyclist. tempted to get my little trekking pole and just kind of right in the spokes, but I withstood. But if you could include that message, I think that might be helpful.
Absolutely.
At least a reminder, yeah, where it goes, I don't know, but
No,
it's a
it's
good
fine.
reminder.
Not gonna.
Thank you for the report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director Nichols. Anybody else? On the trail etiquette, I read that letter also, and having been avid trail bike rider, a mountain bike rider of the past, I practiced etiquette and so forth, when it always announced to the people in front of me that I'm behind them on the left or right or whatever it is. A thought just came to me, and I don't know if this is something that we can come up with some kind of a trail etiquette flyer and talk to the bicycle shops that sell these mountain bikes and ask them to present this information to each of the mountain bike buyers and so forth. Just to make sure that especially some of the new mountain bikers are aware that there is responsibility and accepted etiquette associated with their use of the trail. So just a thought, not that we need any more things to do, but I'm just thinking based on Director Nichols as he was making that comment, that I think that's something that possibly would be to benefit to our hikers. Any other comments or questions? If not, we'll move on to Director's report.
Excuse me, Director Lang?
Yes.
Unless I slept through it, I didn't hear anything from Mr. Hare.
You slept through it.
He didn't hear what you said.
Hey, Chuck, Director Lang said you slept through it, but basically, Tom mentioned that we have received proposals from the Caneo Community Center up the concept plans.
Yeah.
So, did you hear that, Chuck?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so Tom mentioned that we got proposals from about 12 proposers for the Caneo Community Center, and they're narrowing that down, right?
Yes, we're narrowing that down. We're working with the recreation staff to hopefully come up with a recommendation to the board on June 18th.
Okay. And where do we stand on resurfacing the parking lots?
They're probably about 75%, 80% done. And their they've changed the schedule about 3 different times, and they've been accelerating it. They said the last thing they're going to be doing will be next Friday. They'll be done with everything.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to item E, director's reports and follow-up reports and conferences attended, meetings and conferences attended. Any director reports? Director Huffer.
Yes, I haven't attended any meetings other than the Zoom meetings, but
That counts.
you were talking about the trails, and I've done five of the challenge trails so far, and even on a Sunday morning, I didn't come across more than maybe half a dozen people or something like that. So if you're going to be encouraging people to, treat trails properly and proper etiquette and all that stuff, you might also point out that we have a lot of beautiful trails that aren't being used at all. I was out this afternoon in Dos Vientos, and I mean, I didn't see one person on the trail the entire afternoon.
Wow.
So, anyway.
Powerline Trail, right?
Yeah.
Okay, any more report, Mr. Huffer?
Nope.
Thank you for that. Any other directors?
I have something, Director Lang.
Okay, Director Cussworth.
So I was at the Zoom meeting for the Chumash Museum, And they're doing very well. They started an online store. They sold 60 masks from their online store from places as far away as Texas and Arizona. They sold out almost immediately, selling their masks, I think, for $6 to $7. They've updated their website with an entire education page so that people can go on and hear past lectures. They have games, word searches with Chumash words. I was really quite impressed. They've done quite a bit. They're still hoping to get the grant that we'll be voting on for June 4th so that they can finish their collections room so that they can get the collections from the Stagecoach Inn over to the Chumash area. They've also, which I'm very happy about, is Barbara Tejada and Jana Goldsworthy. Jana is the new director of the Stagecoach Inn, have been in contact with each other about putting together grants. I did send on the Cal Humanities grant to them, which Barbara already knew about, but talked about with Jana, and she's also giving them a lot of advice on setting up an online store at the Stagecoach Inn. So they're all trying, and then I've been actually putting together some videos to put on the Stagecoach Inn website. They're not very good, but we're just trying to get more interest and say, hey, now you can watch something about the Chumash app, and we're going to be doing the blacksmith shop. So they're all trying to get into a more virtual mode, which will later on also be benefiting them. When you're saying a silver lining, them putting these extra things on their website and working on the websites is somewhat of a silver lining, I would say. And I'm sure all of you every night have been saying, when's Nellie going to tell us about her horse so we could donate? I know it's been the top thing you've been thinking about. So I did go on to Senior Concerns to register my horse the first day, and I was going to use a name that George told me, which was Trail Rider. Thank you. But when I went on, like I said, I was very punctuous. When I saw the entrance fee, it was more than I wanted to pay, because I thought, well, I can't pay this much to Senior Concerns. So instead, I donated that money to Chumash and Stagecoach, because I said I'm on the board of directors for those two. I can't ask my friends from those places to donate to this. So that's how I ended up now delivering food for Senior Concerns, because I felt so bad. So I gave them a donation, a smaller donation, and now I am delivering food for them every Thursday until school starts. So
Is that on a horse?
Well, I was interested to know that CME does have a food program, because they're sending me out to CME to deliver all this food. So I'm wondering, why isn't CME delivering food to their people? So I may bring that up. Anyway, so that's what's been going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Cussworth. I have a quick question. You mentioned that the Chumash Indian Museum face masks have sold out. What aspect of their face mask is so unusual that people from Texas are purchasing them?
I'm going to assume that somehow they're pretty good with sending things out with Facebook and stuff, and they do have a lot of people that support them. So I'm sure it's just people giving a donation. I think this is all completely a way to give a donation, but they still had 60 masks that they sold out of in just a couple of days. So they're hurrying to make some more. And then a lot of the people that went to look at the mask also bought other things. So within a 2-week period, I think they made about $600. For a closed museum that doesn't get many visitors, that's pretty good. So, yeah, they have a very innovative employee there, Dale Bingham, which everybody should have on their staff. She's a good hard worker, and Barbara also. So, yeah, no, it was they were amazed at how successful it was.
Well, having been a past very involved supporter of the Chumash Indian Museum, I'm so pleased of your efforts, Nellie, and also in combining, and this was discussed years ago, but you're actually made it happen between the interaction of the Stagecoach Inn Museum and the Chumash Indian Museum. And it's very much appreciated, and also that of the Joel McRae Ranch. So keep up the good work. Okay.
There's one other thing that I wanted to tell you. I'm sorry. These Stagecoach is getting ready to open up as an outdoor museum. Chumash doesn't have much outdoors except for their free trail that everybody can go on. but Stagecoach does have a lot of outbuildings. So that's something that they are investigating right now. Jan is going through to make sure that they have all the protocols, because they have so many things that I was reading in it. They can even have one family at a time go through like timber school and the Pioneer House, and everything else can pretty much be outdoors. So, so yeah, things are moving along with them.
Great. Any other comments or questions from directors based on meetings or whatever? Okay, if not, we're moving on to item 12, requests for status reports and items for subsequent agendas. Do we have any? I don't see any hands. We'll move on to 13, items from the public. No public present. We're going on. Is there a need for executive closed session, Mr. General Manager?
No.
Okay, with that, we are going to be adjourned. And next time, I guess we'll possibly see most of you on the VCSDA Tuesday, June 2nd Zoom meeting. Looking forward to that also. With that, we're adjourned. And thanks, Mark, for all that you did in making this extra special with 2 cameras.
Thanks,
Meeting.
Oh, no, not yet.